Thank you for watching. If you enjoy our content and want to show support, please subscribe, share, and follow. It goes a long way and helps the channel grow and be heard. Thank you.
Welcome to Esoteric-Truth Radio. I am your host, Trinity. I'm going to put like little annotations in my videos so you can watch the ones before this. With that being said, if you enjoy my content, please follow, like, share, and comment. Oh, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. We're going to be covering human zoos. I didn't remember, well, if you go to my page, I did a video about it, I don't know, I want to say 10 or 12 years ago. And it's a lot more detail. But I wanted to cover how we started with the little Albert experiment, right? Teaching fear. And then I went into eugenics. And now I'm going into the world's largest human zoo. It was in 1904 in St. Louis. And there's photos and everything. So they would take people, especially people that they brought in from different countries, especially black people, but they also took Native Americans. They would put them in these like these little cages. So it would be like a monkey, and then it'd be an African, and then it'll be a gorilla. And these people would pay money, white folks would pay money to stare at them. Their skin was dark, their hair was woolly, most of them were a lot stronger, taller. They were just completely different. When you take that into consideration, everything looks like an exhibit. We were literally taught not to deal with other people that don't look like us. We did it with Chinese people. I remember, Asian people. I remember I talked about that the other day, about George Takei being in an encampment because they kept him there for 10 years. And when he was little, he was in one of the encampments. And he talks very vividly about what happened and how he's kind of seeing the same thing happen now. When they took these people, they did take pretty good care of them. But they made them into dog and pony shows. So they had to dance and, talk in their language. And even if they spoke a little bit of English, they didn't want that. They wanted you to sound like a savage. Like you can't take care of yourself. Like you eat with your feet and you eat, reptiles and bugs. They didn't consider it. Well, they didn't teach anybody at these fairs, of course not, because people wouldn't pay for somebody that looks different but can take care of themselves. They never spoke about when they took these people. They lived in tribes. They took care of themselves. They took care of the land. They had respect, not only for the people that they loved and the place where they lived, but they knew exactly how their world worked. So you take them from where they're from, you bring them here, you put them in these little cages with all the animals, and everybody's staring at you, ohing and eyeing, while the guy talking that's doing the little whatchamacallit, the little showing, is just talking about how they pulled you from the rubble of nonsense, and you guys don't know how to bathe, and whatever nonsense they decided to bring up. But hundreds of thousands of people wound up going down there. Hundreds of thousands. And when you're taught that these people are less than, that is generational. The same way I spoke about eugenics, right? When you start learning something, you pass that on to another family member and another family member, and it just keeps on going. It doesn't stop. We have that right now. We're dealing with that right now. And that's all over the world. You cannot pick a country outside of Africa, probably. You can't really pick a country that has this amount of disrespect for other people. When you talk about other races not liking black people here, it's not because they know black people. It's not because they had an incident with black people. It's because they believe they're better than black people just based on the color of their skin. That's it. And that's not even a lie. The hand up, everything they happen to get. They don't understand how they were taught. They don't. And it's hard to have to explain that to people. How many photos have we seen where someone was being lynched? There's children there and people are smiling. They were postcards all over the place. You know why? Because anybody who is black or brown or red, you know what I mean, they're not civilized. They're not civilized. What they failed to say is that hundreds of years ago, Europeans were throwing piss pots out the window, not bathing. There was piss and shit all over the streets. This is how, I think it was the Black Plague. Something happened, but it was just based on their living situation. Other people, other cultures were also traveling. We're not the only ones who know how to build a boat and go somewhere. They noticed this and they taught them. And I know a lot of people are going to be pissed about this. And if I cared, I'd let you know, but I don't. If you want to prove me wrong or you want to have this discussion, by all means, bring your sources, not your opinion, and we can have a discussion. I knew what I was going to make this, and I knew how it was going to go. A lot of people are going to be understanding. A lot of people are going to learn something new. But the world that we live in right now is taught. We're taught to fear. We're taught to look down on people. I mean, it's this whole thing where the Irish people were looked down upon, where Jews in Germany were looked down upon. It's like we have collective amnesia. Collective amnesia. A lot of people are like, oh, my white family was slaves. That's indentured servitude. That's not the same thing. A lot of people, especially white people, that were treated very badly. There's a lot of places that said Negroes only, and certain white people were supposed to go up there. Here's a little story you should know. We had the Dust Bowl, and I usually just go off on the things that I know. I don't have to read a bunch of things. But we had the Dust Bowl. What year? Have no idea. But this is back when, there was mostly farmers. So they had this, oh my God, it was like sand and dust, like it went all over their crops. They couldn't grow anything. And it was chaos. They wanted to stay, but a lot of people left. They packed up their stuff, and they left. That was it. They started going especially to California. They went down there, and they were called rednecks. Do you know why they were called rednecks? Oh my God. Do you know why they were called Sorry about that. Do you know why they were called rednecks? Because they worked a lot in the sun, and the back of their necks would get burned, or it'd be extremely tanned. They didn't knock them or mistreat them because they were from another place. They did because they didn't have, one, a lot of schooling because they were farmers, and two, they weren't as high class. They worked with their hands. Their hands weren't all soft and their faces, they were workers. And people tend to forget that. It's a class thing, not a race thing. Those people out there that look down upon you, white, black, Asian, they don't care. If you don't have their money and you don't do the things that they do, you are treated like human zoos. When they see us in these giant factories, we are in a human zoo, and it doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter. They give us crumbs, and then we fight over them. And then they teach us that we're different, that divided is better than us being together. And we're still doing it today. Still. And I don't understand it. This is why I'm bringing up these things, so you clearly understand that this was man-made. This was man-made. When they started really getting aggressive is after there was this huge ethical issue about them sterilizing women, because they thought that They just weren't good enough to continue their bloodline. Where we were taking kids and putting them in mental institutions. Any kid that just had the slightest issue, we take them and we put them in these hospitals and we experiment on them. And a lot of the times, these Ivy League schools, and that's why they're Ivy League schools, is a lot of the doctors that were performing unethical procedures were in those schools because they were getting the most funding. And when you have people that have a lot of money and they want to learn how to control people, they're going to give you money so you can find out. They figured some of it out. Some of it. But we are still acting like this is the early 1920s, the late 1870s. We are the worker bees, and they don't respect us, and they don't care what color skin you are. And until we get over that, until we throw that bullshit out the window, and when you learn about the first video I did with the Albert experiment, when you go into my second video discussing eugenics, and now you know about the human zoos. It's taught. They know how to work it, and they do it. And our parents pass that on, and our families pass that on, and we keep going and going and going. So, if you enjoyed this show, and I really hope that you did, and if you'd like to show support, I already brought it up in the beginning, and I don't have to bring it up again. So I hope you learned something today. You're more than welcome to comment, like, and share my information. Like I said, I don't really cover current events, but I just want to tell you, and I want to share what I know and the research that I've done to maybe have a discussion about how we get here and how we can get out when we look behind the curtain and we see who's really there. And it's not your neighbor, and it's not the person that's working next to you. It's the people that hover above us and think that we're less than. We are in a human zoo right now. Right now. So, I will talk to you soon, and please get my next episode. It's going to be just as good as the last two. And now this is the third. Talk to you soon. Bye.